Hey. G'day everyone. Welcome back to another Toolbox Tech Talk. Yep. It's on again. Hey, probably noticed there's a bit of a difference to the start for today. And I've changed the intro kind of hold music as it might be. Just thought maybe it's time for a bit less of the hip hop vibes, even though that is kind of like, DJ Glemmo's vibe, but there we go. And there's been a few people grumbling about it, so I thought I'd just give it a change for a while. So there you go. Also, a lot's been happening in the last week all around the federal government cheaper home batteries program. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, really. Just what is it? How does it work? Eligibility criteria, some of the things to consider, particularly if you're thinking of participating as a installer, a retailer, or even as a customer of the cheaper home batteries program. There'll be a few tips there. We've been busy here in the lab upgrading a system. So sort of behind me here, I think I mentioned it, the Gold SP Pro has been joined by a stack of 12 golden, well actually 10 golden and one black ones already had Power Plus Energy batteries. These are the golden ones are the new 47Ps, so 48 volt nominal. Actually, it's more like 52 something nominal, but they call them 48s. 54.7 kilowatt hours of storage in that lovely white cabinet there. In the darkness, which is going to soon be lit up, you'll probably see some more Australian products appear. So to the little Australian corner, of course, Electronic, the OG of inverters, really. One of the original inverter manufacturers in the world that made sine wave inverters. I think they were number 2. So, yeah, pretty impressive. Over 60 years old now. Hats off to Electronic. And the plan is that this system will actually be running the whole facility here. So this whole studio, all the lights, recording equipment, computers, all of it will be running off that system. So be just a nice little ecosystem connected to the bigger microgrid. So there you go. That's the Power Plus Energy batteries getting installed. So welcome everyone to another Toolbox Tech Talk here on what's just turned into a rainy Sunday in Melbourne. It was a bit sunny this morning, got very excited, saw the batteries getting charged up, and then the rain came in. So yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. Shout out to the regulars. G'day Charles, good to see you there. Duga. And g'day from, oh my gosh, Lafar from Thailand. Wow. I think you're the first one I've had from Thailand who's acknowledged their presence. So, yeah, thank you. And for those who are also watching, I always like to know where my audience is viewing this from. So just type something in the chat, say hi, say where you're watching this live stream from. So there you go. So thank you. Also, just a reminder, you can ask questions, but you've got to do it in the chat. So type any questions in the chat. There is about a 15-second delay between when you hear me ask of something and when you'll hear it. So don't lag. If the topic is running hot and you want to be involved in the chat, just straight away get onto it. So there you go. And sometimes people ask a question that's a little bit too hard to sort of impromptu and answer. So I often will say I'll get back to you on that one, maybe include it in a further Toolbox Tech Talk or even participate via email. And g'day Duga from Northern New South Wales. Cool. So I'm just putting in the chat my email address. You're welcome to ask me questions via email. I don't take phone calls. Really, it would just mean I'd never have any time to do anything. I love it when someone says, just one quick question, Glenn. There goes an hour usually. So, just email is the best way to reach out and contact me. So this week and previous week, I've been deep in Standards Committee meetings, particularly the soon-to-be replaced best practice guide for battery systems. Now, for those who are not familiar with how standards work in Australia, standards that are normative to a a standard that is regulated by an Act of Parliament. So, for instance, ASNZS 3000 is regulated in every state and territory as a mandatory standard, and therefore it's enforced through energy safety regulators across Australia and through state-based regulators. Then there's also normative standards to 3000, and so all of our renewable standards, so 4509 for off-grid, 5033 for PV arrays, 5139 for batteries, 4777 Part 1 for the installation of inverter systems connected, or actually not just connected to the grid, but just inverter systems providing AC power. They are all effectively regulated standards. Now, 5139 has three main chapters. There's a chapter for all-in-one systems that are based on lithium-ion batteries. It's known as Section 4. There's a sort of definition, which is not only lithium-ion batteries, but a pre-assembled solution that's compliant to the best practice guide. Now, that's a shortened name. It's got something like Battery Energy Safety Best Practice Guide. And it was a document cobbled together about 4 years ago now as a sort of an interim product standard for lithium-ion batteries. It was only intended as a sort of stopgap measure because we didn't actually have any product standards that were applicable for lithium-ion batteries in Australia. And so it referenced international standards like UL 1973 and IEC 62619 and some secondary standards around electrical safety. Now that best practice guide effectively became a mandatory compliance requirement for any products in Section 4 and in Section 5. Now, Section 5 is lithium-ion pre-assembled battery systems as opposed to a BESS. Now, the definition of a BESS is it's integrated energy storage with conversion, so it's actually got an inverter as part of the solution. So its output is AC power, whereas a battery system, its output is DC. So that's a Section 5. So Section 4 and 5 both have to comply with the best practice guide. The catch-all section, Section 6, is for every other technology and any lithium-ion batteries not compliant with the best practice guide. It's not where you really want to be. For a start, you won't be able to access any government rebates with a Section 6 solution because currently all the state and federal rebates are tied to the Clean Energy Council's approved product list, and the approved product list requires compliance to the best practice guide. So it's a catch-22. However, now this is a long-winded answer. The intent was always to have a replacement for the best practice guide or an update to it. What was decided was to actually bring it under the umbrella of Standards Australia as a technical standard. Now, a technical standard may be enforced by state-based regulators, but in our case, eventually it'll be enforced through 5139, probably through an amendment, but as an interim, it may well be enforced through program guidelines, so something to watch out for. Now, it's not published yet. It's probably going to be a little while, so I can't say too much because there's a thing called Committee in Confidence, but its name is TS 5398, and it's going to be a replacement eventually for the best practice guide. But I can tell you the good news is the intent when producing this technical standard was it wasn't going to be chemistry specific. It wasn't going to be just for lithium-ion batteries. So other technologies could meet compliance under this technical standard. So I think that's really good news for products that are like, sodium ion, sodium metal chloride, zinc, bromine, you name it. There's a whole lot of other chemistries out there which could be listed eventually through the CEC approved listing, and therefore receive some government rebates. So that's the good news, and I think as soon as that standard is published, or it's a technical standard, all right, it's not an installation standard, hence TS, technical standard, you probably want to have a look at it if you're a manufacturer. It really is a manufacturer standard, not an installation standard. And it may determine whether your product can be listed on the CEC list. So that's another reason why you'd want to look at that technical standard when it's published. I'll probably shout out as soon as it is so that you get a heads up. So there you go. That's a little bit of tech news for the day. Oh, I should also thank Professor Glenmo for filling in for me last weekend. I hope you enjoyed his rather geeky kind of presentation style. So sometimes I'm just not available and I have to bring someone else in. So there you go. G'day, Gary from Newcastle. Hope it's the East Coast low hasn't hit you yet. I saw there's some pretty serious weather heading towards the East Coast. And Trev, g'day, Trevor. Trevor's an old mate, and he knows this place very well. He's actually done quite a bit of work here, including wind turbines and such. So g'day, Trevor. And from rainy Eltham, I suspect. And yes, Trevor's an OG installer, over 30 years of experience. So good on you, Trev. So let's get into it. Now, normally I sort of kind of create a whole bunch of notes and then, go through them. But actually today, when I looked at my inbox and saw that Solar Quotes had done a little review of the legislation that was just published, I realised that actually the Solar Quotes article is probably what I want to focus on, because they've done a really good job of explaining the Cheaper Home Batteries program. Now, if you're not familiar with Solar Quotes, I'll just bring up a little picture of their website, and let's have a look here. So there you go, solarquotes.com.au is their URL. Now, Solar Quotes was founded by Finn Peacock, who's an engineer, smart dude, and they provide the ability for customers to get 3 quotes or so, and they can also read reviews about those installers. So let's have a look at this article. And the interesting thing was, on Friday, I was actually doing an interview with Luke Conenberg from Green Energy Markets about this rebate, but he kept on saying, I can't say for certain some of those questions you've asked me around eligibility and certain criteria because the regulations haven't been published. Now, this was on Friday about 2 o'clock, 2 to 3, and what do you know, while we were talking, the regulations were published. Considering that the rebate program, the Cheaper Home Batteries program, starts on Tuesday, they really have come in at the last moment with the regulations. And Max Opre from Solar Quotes has read them and done a little summary. So let's have a look at that. So there's our Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, spruiking the Cheaper Home Batteries program. So first up, it was an election promise, and as a result of being re-elected, they've enabled this program. It was budgeted for $2.3 billion in the May budget as budgeted but not announced. So actually they put the money aside in the budget but didn't say what it was for, and now that the election's over, they can say it was for the Cheaper Home Batteries program. The program is intended to provide about a 30% reduction in the cost of a battery. Now, I say about because it's not based on 30%. It's based on a figure of 9.3 STCs per kilowatt hour, which for a $40 STC is worth about $370 per kilowatt hour. So if you've got a 10 kilowatt hour battery, that's $3,700 worth approximately, and there will be some fees from your rec agent to deduct from that, so probably a little bit less, but it's quite a generous, in fact, it's a very generous rebate for batteries. Given that batteries aren't actually renewable energy, they just store it. So they managed to squeeze it under the same regulations for the small scale renewable energy scheme. And that was quite a clever move, because I'm not really au fait with how government legislation works, but I'm told if they tried to stand up a new program for this battery rebate, it would have taken a long time. It would have had to go through Parliament and be voted on, etc. But when it's just an amendment to a regulation, and the regulation relates to the Renewable Energy Act, and in fact, I've got it right here. Here we go. So if you're really into it, you can go to legislation.gov.au, download the Renewable Energy Electricity Amendment Cheaper Home Batteries Program Regulation 2025, and have a read through it. So that was published on the 26th of June, as you can see. So it's very heavy going reading. So definitely not bedtime. You'll fall asleep pretty quickly. And it's very legalistic, but it does have some of the key information around eligibility, what's in and what's out. But I can probably summarise some of that and from the article that that Max has written, and I'll just go down to that. So yeah, Max has done a quick read over and pulled out some of the details. But this little intro that he's written here really is about understanding how the scheme was pitched to the public. Now, I'm just going to check the comments here. Hi from Perth. G'day, Adam. Happy to have the change coming to allow 10 kilowatt single phase inverters in the West. I guess that's very good news for West Australians because they've been rather tight on maximum inverter size for some time. G'day, Stephen. Hi, Glenn. Solar Quotes is far from independent. They are wholly owned subsidiary of Origin Energy. Good point. Thank you for that clarity. They were bought by Origin some months back. And $2.3 billion budgeted. Stephen says no, $1 billion was in the budget. Oh, okay. Thanks, Stephen. Someone actually reads all the detail. But I've got some bad news about the figure, whether you want to call it 2.3 billion or 1 billion. I guess the bad news is this scheme is going to be really popular. It's pretty clear that it's a very generous scheme and it's going to be really popular. There is approximately 4 million homes that already have solar, and a very small proportion of them already have batteries. The scheme is suitable for systems up to, I should scroll down a bit so you can read a bit more, up to 50 kilowatt hours of storage will be rebated with a total capacity allowable of 100 kilowatt hours. I suspect we'll see a very large uptake of bigger than average battery systems. I think if you were to say average it at around 25 kilowatt hours over the scheme and throw that into $2.3 billion at today's prices, that's probably about 250,000 installations. Now remember, there's 4 million homes. 250,000 installations isn't going to cover all of those homes. So I think this program is going to spend that budgeted money very quickly. And if Stephen's right, that there's only 1 million for the first year, it might go in months. I don't know. What do you think, Stephen? Is it going to last to the end of the year before they spend that 1 million? Sorry, I've got to get my M's and B's around the right way. 1 billion on the rebate. So I guess the advice to customers is get in quick. There's a few reasons for that too, because of the way the program will wind down, and I'll cover those details in a minute. So the interesting thing is it is under the Small Scale Renewable Energy Scheme, so it will create certificates known as Small Scale Technology Certificates, but they won't be traded as normal solar STCs. They will be bought by the government. That's what that funding from the government's for, is actually to buy them. So it means that they'll be paying a fixed rate. I think it's probably going to be $40. It's probably in the regulations. I don't know. I'm looking to Stephen again. He seems to be on top of all this. So at $40 a certificate, it's pretty safe bet. You're not sort of worried about the volatility on an STC market. So that's kind of good news. Where are we? So this is the bit that I was kind of focusing on, is the fact that you want to get in early because there will be a drop in incentive, just as the current small-scale technology certificates for solar is being wound down to 2030, so will the battery scheme. So the battery-connected generation units currently will, for this year and the rest of this year, it's half done now, receive 9.3 certificates per kilowatt hour, but it then drop, as you can see, progressively faster. And so if there is still money left in the budget by 2026, you're only going to get 8.4 certificates. They also sort of flagged in a briefing that they would review the rate that the system degrades its incentive at based on the price of batteries. So if battery prices start to plummet really fast, they may even reduce that factor more. So yet another reason to get in quick. And Stephen says, again, I heard Bowen say that they will spend more than 2.3 billion if required. Yes, let's say, I think we call that a soft promise, but generally, if they do say it, it's probably got a fairly strong likelihood of happening. All right, so eligibility criteria. This is where the rubber hits the road. Are you eligible for one of these rebates? So the amendments to the regulation are for a single solar battery system between 5 and 100 kilowatt hours, but only the first 50 are eligible to be discounted under the Cheaper Home Batteries rebate program. So you have to add at least 5 kilowatt hours of storage. You can have an existing system. It can be expanding an existing battery system or even just a solar system with no batteries. But you must add at least another 5 kilowatt hours. Only one battery is eligible per property. So it's not tied to the owner of the system. It's basically to the address. I think there'll be some fine print around where there are multiple properties per NMI. We'll see what that is. And so someone with multiple properties could potentially install or upgrade multiple batteries. So there you go. If you'd be lucky enough to have multiple properties. Retailers will need to provide assurance that they believe the battery will be installed for permanent use. Now, there are these things called written statements, which the Clean Energy Regulator requires as part of creation of a certificate, of their STC certificates. And the written statements, there'll be one for the retailer, but also one that the customer has to sign. Now, these are legally enforceable. If you're not familiar with the Clean Energy Regulator, it's the government body that regulates this program and other programs, including solar hot water, etc. So they employ former federal police to enforce the regulations and investigate any suspicious kind of transactions. So if they do find someone has bought a battery system and then on-sold it under the rebate, they can take criminal action against you. So beware, these are not just soft guidelines, they're quite formidable. So batteries can be on-grid or off-grid. Now, this is a huge relief to the off-grid community out there because batteries are a much more important part of life when you live off-grid, like I do. I basically spend I wouldn't say every hour, but pretty close to it, just checking things like state of charge because it's how much is in the tank. You don't want the lights to go out. And if you're an on-grid system, the installation must be capable of being connected to a virtual power plant. Technically, acronym VPP. A virtual power plant is a way of aggregating lots of independent systems and to be controlled as an aggregate, so they can provide services to the grid. Now, you don't actually have to join a VPP, but the equipment has to be capable of it. How do you find out if the system is capable? Well, the CEC on their approved product list also have a column for whether there is a VPP capability. So make sure that's one of the criteria you'd want to check. It's probably a nice sweetener too if you can join a VPP, because that may well give you some extra financial incentives for your battery system. The way it will work is through an agent that can control your battery system. They can then give you a higher rate of electricity, so you can actually be paid to charge or discharge your battery at a generous rate compared to normal export limits or export rates. Okay. What else? Okay, so homeowners need to choose the hardware that's appropriate and that the credentials of the installer are correct. So installers are required to be accredited with Solar Accreditation Australia, often shortened to SAA, and they need to have the appropriate accreditation. So if they're installing for off-grid, they have to be accredited for off-grid. If they're putting a battery on-grid, they have to be accredited for battery on-grid. If those criteria aren't met, then the certificates aren't valid and won't be created. The batteries, as I mentioned, need to be listed on the Clean Energy Council's approved list, which is a bit of a problem for new players. Maybe I'm getting a bit political here, but the CEC haven't been very good at, in a timely way, of listing new products. Sometimes it's the fault of the manufacturer providing insufficient information. So manufacturer has to submit things like documents to show that the product meets the best practice guide requirements, that it's been tested to 4777 Part 2, etc. And the CEC will do a document review of that product. Now, sometimes there is poor communication or slow communication back and forth, and that can lead to delays. but sometimes it's just delays. So it's kind of been bad, and I imagine if there's a lot of new products arriving to be listed, it'll be even worse. So, I'm hearing stories of 6 months plus to get their products listed. So, yeah, you really want to get onto it. Stephen's challenging me again. Please, no, VPPs are a sort price. Retailers are garbage. I'm not sure what that means. You own the hardware and the energy, size it correctly and use your own energy. Actually, I kind of agree with you, Stephen. If you use your own solar energy, whether it's directly when the sun's shining or by storing it, you are going to be getting some of the best value out of your system. To allow a third party to dip into your battery system to charge or discharge it for their benefit, to provide services to the grid, may provide you with some financial return, but there is a fee to be part of a VPP, and so whether that fee's even going to be covered by the returns, you'd have to look into that. But I think part of the intent with the Cheaper Home Batteries program, tying it to VPPs, is to be able to provide some services to the grid, because the grid really needs a little bit of help at the moment. We have just too much rooftop solar generating in a somewhat uncontrolled way. And so we're seeing states like South Australia first, then Victoria with their backstop program, and Queensland with dynamic export control, and probably New South Wales pretty shortly, putting in mandatory requirements to be able to control your inverter when there's just too much solar entering the grid. So, the grid needs your help. If you're going to add solar, they probably want ways of limiting its negative impacts. Stephen says spot price. Oh, I see. VPPs are a sort of spot price for retailers. Yeah, right. Okay. I mean, of course, there is some interesting parts to the retail market, things like dynamic pricing. So some retailers actually offer you access to dynamic pricing. That can be quite interesting and also quite challenging if you're trying to do it tracking the rapid changes in pricing, or you may have some automation that does it for you to try and get you the best price. So, yeah. So, Adam, I don't mind the VPP as it's a community service and I'm privileged to be able to afford solar and batteries. Oh, yeah, there you go. There's another view. Thanks, Adam. What else? Yes, a good third bullet point here, which is the same goes for new inverters. So if you're installing under the scheme a new system, a inverter and battery, it may be an all-in-one system. Section 4, it might be a separate inverter and separate battery system. It needs to be listed on the approved product list. However, and this is where a lot of people are saying, but I've already got solar. Can I add a battery? My inverter's 5 years old. Yes, you can, as long as that product hasn't been recalled and was once on the approved list. So I guess that's going to cover most people. There has been a few product recalls for safety or non-compliance, and so just you want to check that before you dive into this program. And there's Finn Peacock himself with what looks like a stack of batteries. Okay. So how do you claim the battery rebate? So like STCs for solar panels, you don't actually do it directly, though it is possible to register as an agent and trade your own certificates, but really it's not worth it because of the compliance, unless you're a fairly well-organised installer and happy to trade your own certificates. I'm sure Stephen does that. But it's normally provided as an upfront discount on the total price. So the solar retailer / installer will apply for the rebate and it will be deducted from the total price. As said, the program kicks off on Tuesday next week, the 1st of July. But when Simon, our Energy Minister, announced this program, he said that you could actually go and sell a battery system right now as long as you didn't turn it on till the 1st of July. Now, it turned out there was quite a few gotchas in that statement, such as you can't commission it to the 1st of July. That means you can't actually turn it on at all. And some battery systems, particularly stackable batteries, really need to be enabled to ensure their safety. So you really, with some of those stackable batteries, you can't even stack them up before the 1st of July. But we're nearly over this impediment. So let's hope that goes away. Celio says, I'm curious of the community's thought on some opinions that the STC rebate scheme is a greenwashing exercise. Wow, okay. So I've actually done an interview with the CEO of Green Energy Group, which is the group that owns Green Energy Trading, one of the I think they were the second rec agent formed in Australia 18 years ago. So they trade a lot of certificates. And he gives a very good explanation about the way the scheme works and how renewable energy is incentivised through both the small-scale and the large-scale renewable energy scheme. Rather than me trying to praise what he said, I actually have recorded that interview and I'll publish it probably tomorrow. So just watch my channel for Luke's interview with me all about the scheme. It is quite a lot of technical stuff in there too, so if you're into certificate trading, there'll be one to watch. Yes, okay, so does the federal rebate stack with state schemes? Now, this was a real gotcha too, because the Energy Minister announced that it was stackable with state schemes. That means you could get both. You could have if you lived in New South Wales, you could receive the PDRS, BESS 1, as well as the Cheaper Home Batteries program, and ditto for other state-based schemes. What do you know? They just decided to wind them up. So PDRS, BESS 1 winds up in timing with the start of the Cheaper Home Batteries, and Victoria closed off its battery program recently, in fact, a little bit before. And WA, bless them, actually still kept theirs and even modified it somewhat. So I think the only winner here is Western Australia. Celio says some installers won't deal with it, although now that the batteries are going to be so lucrative. You mean deal with it as in the complexity or philosophically? I'm not quite sure of that statement, but there we go. So, yeah, the scheme notionally stackable, but really only in WA will they benefit from that. It is going to mean quite a lot of paperwork too, because you'll have to meet the requirements of both those schemes. And the summary statement at the end is do your homework, basically. Make sure that you're aware of eligibility criteria, etc., before you go and sell a system if you're an installer or a retailer, or before you buy a system if you're a customer. Right. Stephen says, we have simply incentivised Chinese manufacturing. Wouldn't 2.3 billion go a long way towards building a local industry? Yeah, that was certainly a complaint about the program, that there was no local content requirements. And there are companies that manufacture both batteries and BESSes in Australia. Companies like Cellectronic, Power Plus Energy, Red Earth, and others. So they've kind of missed out on having an inside running with this program. They still, no doubt, will be eligible with appropriate equipment. But yeah, that's really is a bit disappointing. I guess, I don't know if just putting my reality hat check on there. China is kind of winning the game when it comes to bringing the price down on solar and on batteries. It's pretty hard to compete on a price basis. But then again, it's not all about price. Sometimes it's about resilience of your industries. So, yeah, hopefully our renewable industries doesn't go the way of the car industry in Australia. Okay, what else? I did have some more stuff to talk about. And yes, here we go. Let me just bring up another little slide here. Okay, so we've been kind of focusing on saving money by installing batteries, which up until this rebate was announced, I would say was sometimes dubious a statement, because the benefit in terms of financials might be quite long. In fact, it's more likely to be similar to the warranty on the product. So, you know, for some of the modelling that I've done for pricing has shown that you might not actually get any benefit until the warranty's finished. And, you know, if your battery system is no longer warranted, maybe it won't last much longer either. But with a significant reduction in the price of batteries, we should be seeing paybacks coming down, possibly as short as 5 years or so. But anyway, that's just a prediction. What else? Stephen says, what is the logic behind 100 kilowatt hour with 50 kilowatt hours of STC threshold? I don't know, Stephen. Maybe it's just to allow for add-ons, so you already had a 50 kilowatt hour battery. It probably means that because this rebate's available to commercial customers as well, it's per installation, it's not just for residential. So probably larger systems are more appealing to a commercial customer. That could be the reason. And Celio says, I'm really happy with my off-grid SIG Energy system so far, just really waiting for V2X. Oh, gosh, hasn't everyone? V2X actually is here in a soft way. 4777 Part 2 and Part 1 now allow vehicle to home, vehicle to grid. There are products capable of doing it, just like Celio said, the SIG Energy system. I've got one here with a bidirectional 25 kilowatt DC charger on my home, but I'm still waiting for the car manufacturers to nod their heads and say, yes, you can do it. So the hold up now is the car manufacturer if you're off grid, and if you're on grid, it's the car manufacturer and your electricity supply authority, your DNSP or lines company as they're called in New Zealand. That's what you're waiting for. But can I just draw your attention to this slide here? And I actually gave a presentation on Thursday to a community group, 2030 Yay, which is a little town in Victoria, about an hour's drive from me. And they have a renewable energy group, and they're very active, and they get speakers to come in and talk. So I gave a little talk to them. But I generally start any of my talks on, renewable energy and saving money with the obvious things like energy efficiency. Energy efficiency, according to the IEA, is the first form of energy. It's the one you should use first, i.e. negawatts, the watts you never needed. But when it comes to storing energy, many people already have a storage device, and it's known as a resistive element hot water tank. And if you think about the use of a hot water tank, it's a daily cycled appliance. You heat it up and you use it, and you heat it up again, probably at least once a day. And if you look at the cost benefit, the amount of energy that you would put into a hot water service, depending on, I was told by one researcher, it depends on the length of people's hair. That's a really interesting way of working out how much hot water you use, meaning if you've got long hair, you spend more time in the shower, I suppose. If you're using 6 to 14 kilowatt hours a day, that would be equivalent to a $5,000 to $10,000 battery system at pre-rebate prices. So you might already have an energy storage device, but what you need to make it really work, if you have solar, is something to capture the solar when it's being generated and store it in your battery. Now, that's where some products come along. And so I've just got some examples here. I'll just get my overhead camera cranking. Now, you're probably well aware of this company, which is, if I turn it on to the right one there, it's an Australian company called Catch Power. And Catch Power have been making solar hot water diverters, if we want to call them that, for some time. This is a product known as the Catch Solar Relay. They've actually superseded this with the Catch Control. So this is the model before the Catch Control. They're basically a 2-module device that will go into a switchboard. They have contacts, voltage-free contacts, so you can connect 230 volts to the contacts, and they can switch that up to 3 amps, and therefore they can control a larger contactor to switch a big load like a hot water service. They also have a comms interface, and the comms interface is RS485, so it can talk Modbus to your inverter, many inverters, and on their website there'll be a list of compatible inverters. And it also has CTs, and the CTs can measure the consumption of your home, and it can measure the generation of your solar by clipping onto the relevant conductors. So it then has an algorithm inside here to try and optimize the amount of energy going into your tank to match the amount of surplus solar. Now, what is surplus solar? Surplus solar is solar that you're going to export or be curtailed by your export settings on your inverter. So effectively meaning it will capture that surplus. So initially your solar inverter will supply your home, and then secondarily it will heat water. And so it's soaking up that surplus. But it's only a switch, so it has to wait till you've actually got plenty of surplus. So if you've got a 3.6 kilowatt element, it's trying to wait till there's 3.6 kilowatts of extra surplus and then switch on your hot water. But they do make a product that does it in a fine-grained control way. Now, let's see if I can get the focus a bit better on this for you. There we go, that's a bit better. So this is the product known as Catch Green. The predecessor was the Catch Blue, quite a big thing. The Catch Green, this can handle up to, I think, 5 kilowatt elements, so or even a bit more. So really, just about any domestic hot water service can be controlled by this. What's different between these two devices? This device actually doesn't have to go in the switchboard. It connects. It's got some ports at the bottom here. It connects to your hot water tank, so the supply going to your hot water tank, and it connects to the grid, and it will monitor your hot water usage. Now, it's got a bit of an algorithm in here, and I think it's maybe a bit of smoke and mirrors, but it does work, which is it can work out when's the best time to heat water so that it's not heating water at the beginning of the day and then it's a sunny day and you basically haven't used solar, you've used grid. Excuse me. Conversely, if it's a rainy day and there's no solar, it's going to try and use the cheapest electricity for you. So you've got time of use tariffs, for instance. It also kind of learns how you use hot water because it knows when the over temperature switch on your hot water tank operates, so it can tell when the tank has reached its target temperature and then see how long it takes to discharge again. It has a few push buttons on the front here. There's one which is heat now, which means I don't care if it's sunny or at night time, I want hot water. Press that button and it'll give a boost for a short period of time. And it's got a couple of preset times, 2.5 hours, 5 hours. And if you press solar only, it will only try and use surplus solar to heat your hot water. So really simple control algorithm. Now, one of these devices, I can't remember the cost, but it's a lot cheaper than a battery, way, way cheaper than a battery, and it turns your hot water service into a battery. Now, just to give, rather than just one brand, there is other products, and this is a new one to me. It's called SolarBot. Now, this is actually from South Africa, from Plentify, and this company is really well known in South Africa. They make two products, HotBot, which is a hot water control system for your hot water tank to optimize time of use tariffs. And combined with this device, the SolarBot, it will then try to utilize solar and battery systems. So it can even use batteries. It's got a bunch of ports on the bottom here, and if I can read them. So it's got, you can connect your inverter. So there's a list of compatible inverters. It's got a pass-through, so it can pass the communication from your inverter through to your other control devices. These are comms ports. It's got a port for a battery, so comms port for battery, so it can talk to the battery, find out its state of charge. It's got something called the Plum Bus, and that's a bus technology for multiples of these to talk to each other. And it's got two antennas. Now, what's really interesting, one of them is Wi-Fi, so it connects to the cloud. The other is LoRa. That's a long-range wireless technology. It's really long range. I've heard of people getting tens of kilometers of range with LoRa. And the purpose of this is you can actually have a mesh network of these. So if your neighbor has a SolarBot and you have a SolarBot and a neighbor down the street has a SolarBot, and only one of you has an internet connection, they can actually use the LoRa connection to combine the data. They can also use LoRa to combine multiple systems at the same installation to give an aggregate benefit to one installation. And this is actually quite a cheap device, something like about half the price of a Catch Green. So there you go. But I don't know if they're available in Australia yet. So SolarBot, something to watch out for. I've actually done a little interview with their Chief Technology Officer on my channel. If you want to learn more, check out that interview with the people from Plentify. Okay, and where was I? Go back to here. Oh, a few questions in that. Here we go. Celia says, hot water, I've done something similar with Home Assistant and Shelly. Oh, wow, you sound like you know what you're doing, Cello. So Home Assistant, of course, is a smart home aggregation device. I've got one here. It's amazing how many things it can find on your network and control or monitor. And Shelly is a company that makes sort of smart switches, so you can control things and measure as well. So that's a great combination. And I just learnt that SIG Energy have partnered with Shelly, so they can fall under the SIG Energy system. Yes. Ooh, Laura, that's very cool, says Celio. Yes. Good, a fellow geek. So what am I showing you here? And actually, I'm just going to skip through because I just was doing this for a Victorian group, and anyone in Victoria should know that Solar Victoria have a whole bunch of programs. There's programs for solar. There was for batteries. They've wound that up. There's insulation. There's refitting of efficient lighting, draft stopping, solar hot water, and those are stackable rebates too. So you can get those as well as federal rebates. So if you're in Victoria, it's worth checking their website for the current rebates available from Solar Victoria. Other states have their own programs. Sorry, I haven't done a state-by-state comparison here, so apologies to those not in Victoria. Just to give you the numbers on how the discounts work, with STCs, small-scale technology certificates, it's based on your zone rating. There are 4 zones for Australia, and Victoria, Southern Victoria, is in zone 4, which is the same as Tasmania. 1.185 times multiplier, the kilowatt rating, peak watts of your panels, times the number of remaining years till 2030. So we've got 5 years of deeming left, and you multiply those together and it gives you a certificate value, which you have to round down. So if it's 39.2 certificates, you have to round down to 39, and then you have to get them traded usually by your retailer or installer, and the price may vary somewhat because they've got to absorb some administration costs. So even though there's a notional floor price of $40, it's likely to be less than that. So I've just given an example at $36. That's STC. You'll get 70 of them. That's a $1,400 discount on a 6.6 kilowatt system in Zone 4. If you're lucky enough to live in a really sunny place, Queensland or even better, Central Australia, the zone ratings go up and you get way more certificates. Jian says, is the battery on the CEC approved product list deemed as VPP enabled? They have a separate column for it, Jian. You've got to check. No, not all batteries are VPP enabled on the CEC list. So you've got to check that the ones that are. Well, of course, it's not the battery that's VPP, it's the system associated with the battery, so it's really the inverter, Jian. So I don't think the batteries, unless they're an all-in-one system like SIG Energy or Alpha ESS, etc., they're an all-in-one system, then they would be listed as VPP capable already. Now, with the Cheaper Home Batteries program, I don't know what we're going to call them, BSTCs, because they are slightly different. They will be purchased by the government, so the price will be fixed, notionally at $40, but there may be some admin costs from your rec agent to reduce that slightly. But taking a 16 kilowatt hour battery at the moment with 9.3 certificates being created as a per kilowatt hour, that's 148 BSTCs, and that comes out at about a $5,920 rebate. So there you go. That's why it's a lot of people quite excited by the generosity of this scheme. Now, I've already covered some of these points here. The objective was to provide a 30% reduction of the cost of installing battery systems, but it may be greater than that. It's all about competitive pricing. And the government said they wanted to see 1 million homes with batteries. We already sussed that may not be achievable with the current budget, but hopefully they'll remember. And Stephen just reminds us there are no fractional STCs, so you've got to always round down. And this is probably just covering what I already told you, because this was a little presentation that I gave to that community group, and I'll probably just skip over that. And lastly, the requirement for documentation is yet another bunch of paperwork your installer will have to do, which are the written statements, both for the retailer, designer and installer. The customer will have to sign some of those as well to confirm that they are not going to on-sell or move the battery. So, yep, you can't take it with you. It stays at that residence. So, and you also have to meet all the local requirements for state and territory installation requirements. So there you go. Stephen comments, what idiot named the cheaper home batteries? What this is what we'll get, cheaper batteries. Yeah, I think that was probably a marketing team came up with that name, Stephen, I imagine. Something to grab people's attention, get some votes in through the door. Yeah. I just could have called it the federal battery rebate scheme, but there you go. Okay, so I'm going to quit those slides because I'm not giving you that whole presentation again. So there you go. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions or any suggestions for follow-ups for me for another Toolbox Tech Talk. And since I've got Stephen, by the way, we've been talking about getting you on here, so we better talk some more about that. Stephen is very interesting, very experienced, and works in different levels of the industry, everything from installation of residential, C&I, utility, you do inspections, you do training. So Stephen sort of is all man for all seasons in the solar world. So, hope to get you on for another Toolbox Tech Talk. So there you go. I think I've probably covered everything that I did want to today. And like I said, if you're interested in learning all about the REC market, the Renewable Energy Certificate market, the interview that I did with Luke Cronenberg is going to be live probably Monday or Tuesday this week. And so check that one out. And he does a deep dive into the battery scheme as well. So there you go. Thanks, everyone, for watching another Toolbox Tech Talk, and that's kind of it for today. So see ya.